Don't worry, I won't make you listen to that again.
Hello and welcome back to another video. We have finished PETOBER. This is going to be the flick through of the entire progress that I made throughout the 31 days of inking. I would just like to say a massive thank you to all the supporters, especially those that continuously commented and liked every single video. There's a few of you out there, you know who you are. I reply to your comments every time, and I really appreciate that you've stuck by me and you've watched every video. I really do appreciate that. We are going to do a flick through of all 31 days. I'm going to share some thoughts about each day, how I feel, how I have managed, what techniques I wish I'd done differently, where I may have hoped for an extra day inking just to improve the way it looks. But I will show a comparison side by side of the picture, the reference photo I received from the owner, and the inking that I finished at the end. But I really hope you've enjoyed watching all the videos. I know it's kind of a bit boring just watching inking every day, but I wanted to set the challenge, and by far this has been the most challenging challenge I've ever done, and the most challenging Inktober that I've ever done as well. I have definitely spent many a day really wishing I wasn't having to ink, and my hand has burnt some occasions, especially at the end where my knuckles were actually burning inside. And I definitely don't want to pick up my dip pen for a little while, but I do have a few commissions before Christmas. But I'm really pleased with them all. The owners seem pretty pleased with them all, and I'm quite proud of myself for managing to make it through PETOBER all the way. So let's get into this flip through and we will see some thoughts and feelings and hopefully show you what I've done in its entirety.
Okay, so let's start with this massive mammoth stack here of all the inkings finished. I will put those to one side and we'll go through day by day. So this is day one. I think I got off to a really good start with this. Often I would probably finish inking for the video and then I would actually just maybe do a few touch-ups after I've sat on it for a day just to make sure everything looks good. This was quite hard because it's not like a black and white dog. It's kind of got this mottled grey black to it, and so I found I had to really try and keep it as light as I possibly could, but I think it's turned out quite nice. I really like the pose, I like the direction that the dog's looking, and the really soft, gentle eyes, so I'm really pleased with day one there. And then as we went into day two, this was the quality of photo I had. I don't know if it's picking it up on camera, but it's quite a blurry photo. I think it was a photo from really far away, which, as much as I know the direction of fur, every dog's fur is different. No matter if it's the same breed, it's just, it goes in different directions, and sometimes the shadows can alter the way the direction of the fur looks. And with this being quite a blurry photo, I really had to kind of deduce and make up which way the fur was going, so I found that my style differed. So when you look at this one, this is very much, it has kind of that very fine fur there. This one I felt like I was almost making my inking blurry to match the blurry photo, so I don't think the precision and the fine detail is there so much. But having said that, I am pleased with the way it looks. I think it's recognisable that this is the same dog. Yeah, I quite like it, and I think the pose, you know, is quite a good pose. I like the ones that have shoulders. It's not a weird angle where I'm questioning how I should ink it, and I think it's good. I think it was a good start for day two as well. Now, day three, this is what I mean about pose. So this was the photo. Its ears were cropped off, so I had to sketch in the ears to see how I thought they would fall. And the pose is actually the dog looking up, and so the body's kind of coming back here. So I instantly knew I did not want to include a body, and so it would just be a bit of a floating head portrait, which I'm not unhappy about. I think it looks fine. Some of these have to be just heads, and that's okay. It is meant to be a portrait of their face. Their body is not necessarily meant to be included every time. This was also difficult because I can see that there is an eye in here, but it's covered by a lot of fur. I don't know whether the dog is blind or whether it has lost an eye, and that's kind of the closed eye. So I almost did a bit of a mixed hybrid of an open eye and a closed eye here, just very small. But I find the wiry dogs with like kind of thick hair quite nice to do. I think you can really get some detail in there and make sure that you've got some good wavy lines. I will also say that as I started this Pettober, I absolutely despised doing noses, and towards the end I absolutely love them. I think the nose is my favourite part. It always used to be the eyes, but the nose has definitely started to trump it recently, so I don't know if that's me improving my inking or whether I've just decided that's a nicer part to do of the dog. I don't know, but I think from this point onwards, oh no, I don't know. I think I've just enjoyed doing the noses in general. But yes, that is a new development for me. But yes, I quite like this one. It was a good dog, and I think I captured that scraggly look quite well for that one. So next, we had day 4, which I've never done a rat before, and so this photo is actually of a little bed. It's got multiple rats in there. There's like another ear here, and I was trying to pick out kind of what belongs to this rat, and again the photos, it also doesn't help that my printer kind of darkens photos a lot, so I would often have these photos up on my laptop so I could refer to the original if it was a little bit brighter. I would also often up the contrast if it was dark photo, or the whites were too white and the blacks were too black. It was a lot of manipulating of the photo to try and make sure I could see the fur a bit better, but again, this had almost this grey gradient, so you went from white grey to like a dark grey, so I found that quite difficult to kind of mimic in my inking because, well, often my ink is black, you know what I mean, so it's kind of very difficult, and a lot of these photos have a lot of shadowing on some of them, and so you've almost got to try and decipher what's shadowing you should leave in to kind of create the illusion of depth on the inkings to make it look like this nose is closer and the ears are pushed back, but also trying to not add too much shadowing. I don't know, it was very difficult. You had to really pick and choose what shadowing to really leave in, what to lighten, what to darken, and so it was a lot of trial and error with some of this, but I think this rat turned out really well. The owner really likes it, and I really enjoy doing these really fine whiskers here. I think it's quite a beautiful statement piece of that. And then day 5, I'm going to stop saying days because I'm going to forget halfway through, and that's not going to be very good. So this is a lovely Spaniel here. It's a set of 2, so there is another one that looks very similar, a bit later in the month, and this is what I mean. This has a lot of light coming in from this side and a lot of shadows here, but it's also a very dark brown dog, so you kind of needed to add more. You had to kind of keep the balance between this colour that I was inking and this colour, because it's not a black and a grey dog. I don't know, I was trying to mimic the colours with my black ink almost without adding colour, and I think that was the biggest challenge this month, was trying to do that, but I think I've captured it quite well. I would perhaps not have darkened these little brows that were kind of furrowed, and kind of maybe lighten that a little bit more, but all in all I think I captured the very cheeky look on this dog's face. I think I would also have liked to blend this nose in a little bit more. It almost looks like that nose is on top, but I think I'm just being really picky here. But my favourite thing to do, I mean it is time consuming, is actually Spaniel ears. I think they have got to be my favourite breed of dog to do because of their lovely ears. I love getting the curls and making it look wavy and nice, so that's how what I really enjoyed about this the most on this day. So the next day we have another pair, so there is another very similar dog a little bit later in the month, and I believe this dog is actually at the moment quite ill, so I hope he gets better soon, but I really love the pose of this, and this is again another one where the body was at a strange angle, so I actually took the artistic license and actually used some cellophane, which you can see in the video for this day, where I've actually laid on some clear cellophane, and I've drawn on with Sharpie kind of where I think the shoulders would sit well for this breed of dog, and then I went ahead and inked it, so I wasn't you know, changing the dog too much, but the picture just wouldn't have replicated. Imagine doing a little bum up here, it just wouldn't have looked right. But I like this one. I think I got really nice contrast between the white and black, and I think you can see that in the portrait. I think the thing I found the most difficult to do on this is actually this little cheeky tongue that's sticking out here. I'm not sure that reads very well, but yeah, all in all I think that's quite a nice little portrait there. So next we have the first cat of the month. Now I drew this quite big on the paper. I'm not sure why. I guess, I don't know, the photo made it so it was easier to fit on the paper as a whole. I like this one. It was really hard. This is Teresa, and I found it very difficult because it's an all white cat, and now cat's fur is very different to dogs. So a dog's fur, it usually clumps up, especially when it's long. It's more of a clump fur, so you can draw a clump and darken underneath it and make that look like a lock of hair. Whereas with a cat, I find it's all very wispy. It's all individual hair strands, and that's very difficult to replicate. I also find cat mouths just impossible. I just can't do it. I've absolutely put off inking my own cat because I'm so scared about inking the cat mouth, so I was a bit apprehensive with this. I think I've replicated it quite well. I mean, I maybe could have cut in a little bit. There's quite defined whisker lines here. Maybe I could have rounded those off a little bit and made a bit more definition. I also think, I don't know, you tell me in the comments below, but I actually think I've made the cat look angrier in my portrait than she does in the picture, but I don't know, you can let me know. But yes, that was the first cat of the month as well. And then next we have this lovely, I can't remember which side I keep putting the paper on. I have this lovely inking, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I love the pose, I love how different it is with one ear up here, one ear bent over a little bit. The dog actually has different coloured eyes, and I quite enjoyed replicating that. The little mark up here that kind of signifies that this is this dog. And this is another problem with darks and lights. The nose is quite heavily shadowed, and so I actually inked it like that, and I wish I'd left a little bit more light on top here just to make it look like the light is shining on it a little bit more. But other than that, I think this one turned out quite nice. I have a thing that I actually really enjoy drawing in the collars of dogs, and I've not actually taken the chance to do that much. I think at the start I did it on a couple of them, but as I was running out of time a little bit more in the evenings later on in the month, I think I kind of skipped over that detail a little bit more on some of the days. But I do really enjoy drawing the collars around them. I think it kind of grounds the head a little bit, if that makes sense. So the next day we have Badger here, which I'm just going to say this was probably out of 5, one of my top 5 that I've enjoyed inking. I love the contrast of this nice white area here, which in hindsight I may have over darkened a little bit, but in comparison to the darks where I've made that black look, I think I've really captured that light and dark look of this dog. I'm really pleased with it, and I do hope the owner buys this one, because although if she doesn't, I'm happy to have this one on my wall because I really enjoy the way this looks. This is one where I think adding too much detail into this body was going to detract from the beautiful curls on the head, so that's why I really didn't go with much detail down there, but I think this one's a really nice one. So here we have another cat. As you can see, this is where the mouth I struggled with, but look at how dark this photo is. I could not pick any definition, even upping the exposure of the photo. I just could not pick out any definition. I don't know if you can see that on camera. There you go. I actually used some pencil to try and define where I thought that was. In the end, I actually overlaid, because this is part of a set as well, there's another Maine Coon cat in there. I actually took the mouth out of that and overlaid it onto here to try and see where that mouth line would be. I think it could be better, but I think I also managed to capture as well as I could for the photo that I received. But yeah, cats are a challenge for me, I think, and that's a challenge that maybe in the future I'll give people a discount to send me their cat photos so I can just practice a little bit more, but that's maybe a future problem when my hand is... Now, the next day, this is also another pair, which is always lovely to receive, and again, a very blurry photo, and annoyingly both of the photos for this, for the lady that commissioned these are very blurry, and I found... As much as I was saying that I was enjoying doing the noses on this one gave me the most issue because of how strange it looks. It looks very blurry, it looks very out of focus, and I struggled to really just, I don't know, mimic the look of it and the shininess of it. I don't know, I just think it's something I could have worked on this one if I had an extra day or so. I struggled with just trying to get this light. I don't really like the way this ear blends into the fur. I think that could have been done better. And also the pose of the neck. Again, I think a bit of cellophane and drawing on that a little bit more would have been better to try and alter that and make it look a bit more even, perhaps. But other than that, I think this is a good portrait for that quality of photo. So next, and this again has to be one of my favourites throughout the whole month. This is Doug, the Springer Spaniel, and he is beautiful. He's such a beautiful photo, and this expression is so cheeky. I absolutely loved it. And again, I love doing the curly ears on this one and creating that contrast between the lights and darks without over darkening it to make it not look like black fur. And I just think I caught the expression really well. I don't have anything on here that I think I'd wish I'd done differently, to be honest. I think I really, really like the way this one's turned out. So this is my first horse. I received this picture of Duchess, the Clydesdale horse, and she is absolutely beautiful. It was actually a full body picture, but I thought I wouldn't really get the detail in if I'd have done a full body horse on this. So I decided to do this as a head portrait, but I really liked it. I think I've caught that kind of really short fur here, which goes into a bit of a longer fur on the neck and then into a longer fur up here as well. And I think I've captured that quite well. And I'm just really pleased with this one. I think it's a good attempt for my first ever horse, to be honest. So next we have this lovely pup. I love the picture of this. I think it's such a decadent photo. It looks very regal. I don't know why. That's just how I kind of sense from this portrait. This was quite difficult because, again, it's quite a light coloured dog. Luckily, it's not pure white, so it wasn't as difficult as it maybe could have been. But it's got quite a lot of darks with its eyes, its nose and the mouth. It's a lot of dark areas, but I kind of didn't want those to look too stark. So I softened them ever so slightly without losing the look and what they represent and all of that sort of thing. So I think there's a little bit of artistic license with changing things a little bit just to make them read a little bit better. But I think I've replicated this dog quite well, and the owner is very pleased with this one. Next we have Nacho. So I mentioned this, well, as in I put this in the description of the video for this day. This is actually an inking I did a while ago. I actually did Nacho as a puppy, as an A4 inking. I'm not sure, yes, I'm pretty sure I did a video of it on this channel somewhere. But this is actually Nacho as an adult, so I really enjoyed the fact that I was able to ink him as a puppy and an adult, but I just love this cheeky little look. And I actually think I've really replicated this quite well. I think I've gotten the shadows perfectly fine, and the short fur really well, and just the little wrinkles on parts of his face, but really subtly done. I think I've replicated it quite well, and I'm quite pleased with this one. So next we have Maggie. I believe Maggie is blind, but she has, I don't know if this is a photo of her blind now or not, but you don't get that blind look coming across with the eyes, so there was no changes to the way I was inking that, which was quite nice. And I just love how cute Maggie looks. I think it's just quite a cute little pose. Again, the photo was quite difficult. There was no neck or body. That was quite easy to ink there. I thought it would be a bit strange to include a bandana or this teddy bear here, so it kind of was just the head that I inked, and it ended up being a lot smaller than some of the portraits because of how big her ears are, and so that made the inking actually a little bit harder to do because I was focusing on the finer detail a little bit more. But all in all, I think that's turned out quite well. So next we have a snake here. So this, I wasn't sure how I was going to ink this. I had a couple of photos, and I didn't know whether I was going to focus on the head and kind of almost make up the rest of it, combine the two photos, because the other photo kind of was more of the body. But all in all, I kind of just settled with just doing the front bit here and replicating this photo exactly. I think what was hard on this, it was actually just the sheer quantity of scales and the fact that because this is curving round and the body's curving, you had to really concentrate on the shapes of the scales and the shadowing and making sure that you kind of captured all of that. But I think I've done that quite well. The parts that gave me the most difficulty were sometimes if I wasn't concentrating hard enough, I would have maybe darkened a few of the scales that didn't need darkening, and so it was kind of a battle of really trying to concentrate on what was needed with this and trying to replicate the kind of stripiness of it whilst keeping the dark. It was just really hard to kind of decipher this head from the body really, whilst also making the markings that the snake had as well. But I think it's quite good for my first ever snake, to be honest. So next we have this very white dog, which luckily has a lot of shadowing and it's a little bit creamier on the ends of the fur here, and so I was quite able to create that look of it. But I think I did have to darken it a little touch from this bit because this was quite light in the photograph. I think I downed the exposure actually to kind of bring some of those features out, and again the ear was cropped off, so I had to sketch this in a little bit to try and mimic what that could have looked like, but I think I've replicated that really fluffy look to this pup really well in this one. So this is the second photo of the pair from earlier, and again, as you can see, a very blurry dog. I think I kind of overcame this one a bit better than the previous and managed to replicate it a little bit more. I kept some of these shadows a little bit lighter just to not over darken the dog, but I think it's a nice little picture to go along with the other one. I think they're inked very similarly, and they have kind of, I know it's very difficult to see if you're not the one inking them, but I've almost got like a few different styles that I ink some of the pets in, depending on the photo quality, depending on the fur, etc. And I think both of the pets are inked in a similar style, let's say. I don't know how else to describe it, but that's how I see it. I don't know if that comes across to you or not, but to me it does, and I don't know if it's just I've spent too much time with these inkings. So here is the second Maine Coon. Again, it's quite a dark photo, so I did have to lighten it quite a bit. I struggled with this one. I think I've given the cat a little bit of a surprised look to it, but I don't know, I just think I need to work on cats a little bit more. But having said that, I've done a few cats before and they've looked, you know, I've not been unhappy with them. Maybe the time frame for these cats is just a bit too tight for the type of fur, I'm not sure, but I think it was quite an ask of myself to put this amount of work in on one day, to be honest, so I'm going to cut myself a little bit of slack there. So next we have a lovely fluffy dog here, and what I really liked about this photo was actually the really nice little curls in the front here that I really enjoyed replicating, and I just had a little bit of fun with this because I was able to really trying to mimic all this fur in the direction, and all the individual strands would have been too hard, so I kind of got to have some fun creating the fur in my own way from what I was seeing, and I really enjoyed that one. Again, another second portrait of a pair, and I really like this position and the soft look, and it's just got a cheekier look to the other dog, and I think I've replicated that quite well. And yeah, I don't think I've got much else to say. These dogs both had noses that kind of blended in with their muzzle area here, so on this one I did define it a little bit more than maybe I should have, but other than that I think it's quite nice. I think I captured these little rolls on the muzzle there of that kind of short stubby nose that they have, and I think that's gone quite well. So next we have another horse, and I must admit this is my favourite pose of all the pictures I've received. I think I love the cheekiness of it, of the nose being so close to the camera, and I think I've captured that perspective really well, and the cheekiness and just fur in general of this horse. I really tried to keep some of this mottling here, as you can see, and I love the really scraggly hair at the top there. I love this one. It's probably one of my favourites as well. I know I've said that for most of them, but I do really like this one. And again, the second of a pair. So this is the other Spaniel that I did. As you can see, he's got a bit longer of a nose and a bit more of a wiser look, I would say. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but again, love doing the ears. As you can see, there's a very harsh shadow from the other dog in this photo here, and a very harsh shadow here, so I actually lightened those up and made it not look so lit on the face and dark on the ears, and I think I've managed to retain the look of the dog without adding too much shadow and light in there, so I'm quite pleased with that one too. So next we have another photo. I believe this is a Rhodesian Ridgeback. She has passed away as well, so this is the photo that I was given. It is a little bit blurry, but luckily she's quite a light dog, and I can see the wrinkles quite well on the head, which I think I've replicated really nicely, and I've got that kind of somber look almost to this pup as well, and I just think I've done quite well considering the photo quality, to be honest. I'm quite pleased with that one, and I did have to make up the neck ever so slightly because there is a flag tied around her, but that I think I've done quite well on that one. So here is Clint. This is my girlfriend's family's tortoise. He is quite cheeky, and I love doing this one. I think I've done really well for a first tortoise. I think I've managed to get the curve of this shell and the grooves for all the different parts of it, and I did have to lighten this up because I wanted to get the detail in here. I didn't just want to do a black area. I wanted to show that this is the neck coming in, this is the leg curving around, and I think I've managed to capture that really well. And again, the foot was missing, so I did have to draw that in and make it up, but I think I've managed to make that up quite well actually. I'm really proud of myself for doing that, and I love this piece. I think it's quite expressive and very, very nice. So next we have another dog where the angle of the photo maybe didn't lend itself well for me to do a neck in here, so I just kept it to the head. It is quite a dark dog with a little bit of white in there, so I had to adjust the contrast quite a lot and the exposure just to try and pick out some of the fur. And again, I had to really pick out where the fur was coming out of the neck and where it was coming out of the head. But I really love doing all these little wisps and being a bit looser with my inking. Sometimes I think my hand was getting cramped because I was really trying to stick to the fur exactly, whereas this I was able to be a lot more loose, which I quite like. Next we have lovely Daff. This is my friend's dog, and unfortunately she passed away suddenly a couple of years ago, but I really think she looks really cute in this photo. She kind of reminds me of Dobby almost, and the actual angle of this photo is quite hard. As you can see, if you blot her out this, the nose almost looks like it's bent to one side, but I think it's just the way the nose is bent down. And so when I initially did it, I only inked that, and I thought that would work, but it really didn't. So I did extend it and add a little bit of the neck in and the collar, and I think the collar really grounded that head and made it look good. I left out the chain here where the lead was connecting, just not to overcomplicate the inking itself, but I think that's really nice, and I actually think it's a really nice touch to have Daff's name on the collar there as well. So I think I've replicated that one really well. We have another Spaniel here, and this is actually a puppy Spaniel, so the ears are not as curly, which it was actually quite a nice change. They were a bit more wavy, a bit more subtle, and I think the look of this dog is really cute. They've got like those big cute puppy eyes that you get with a puppy, which was really nice, and I quite liked this and how it's turned out. Then we have this Shih Tzu. I believe this Shih Tzu is quite old. The photo is really blurry, but luckily because it's quite a curly dog, it was quite easy to replicate. I kept the lines really soft because you had this white and this light grey, so it's a bit of a softer one. It doesn't have as much contrast as some of the others, but I think I kept the kind of like old looking eyes and scraggly little nose and the little fur going across the nose there. I think I kept all of that in quite well, and all in all I think that's replicated quite well as well. And then for the final day, we have this lovely girl. I was actually informed that she passed away suddenly 2 weeks ago, so I think this is a lovely memento for the owner of their lovely pet. And she is a beautiful dog. I love the colours, I love the fur direction. It was quite a nice change that it was long fur but it wasn't curly, because a lot of them are very curly when they've got long fur, so this was actually a lovely change. I kept so basically the dog's black, white, and this kind of like cappuccino colour, and I think all of its head here is black, but because the light's on it, it's kind of gone this light grey. Now, usually I would have darkened that and made it the black same as here, but because the contrast is quite different and you needed to have that contrast with the ears, I actually kept that quite light, but I think it mimics that dog really well, and I think it works really well. So I'm really pleased with that, to be honest. But that is it. That is all 31 days. As I've said, there's been times where the quality of the photo has really stopped me from maybe getting the detail I would have liked, and perhaps if I'd had longer than a day, maybe I would have been able to do a little bit differently. But as you can see, we've got, I don't know if you can see a difference, and maybe have seen a difference between my inkings, but between the first and the last day, obviously they're very different sizes, but I think I've improved. I mean, I'm not unhappy with the result of the first day, but I definitely feel like my inking has changed. I think it has improved, and it's been a challenge in every respect, honestly, in time, in exhaustion. I've been getting up early for work, doing this before work, doing it at lunchtime, and doing it straight after work, and all in all, I have been sick of inking every single day. But equally, I've loved the feeling of finishing each day, and the feeling that I get when the owners are really pleased with those pets, and the fact that they have now a long memento that they can keep forever. And it's such a great feeling, and finishing the challenge is a great feeling. I'm really pleased with the way it's turned out. Like I've mentioned with some of those, there's things that I would change, but I just think with art in general, you would be like that no matter what. But I'm quite proud of myself. I'm also proud it's over and glad it's over. But that is it for Pettober. That is it for this year, and let's just see whether this is in the last straw to stop me from doing Inktober again next year. We will see. But thank you so much to everyone who has watched, who has liked and commented. You all know who you are. I won't mention you, but I really appreciate you all for commenting every single time and really brightening my day with your comments and your opinions and your words of encouragement, and I really appreciate it all. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully the next video will be something a little bit more colourful. Let's see. So thank you again, and I hope you've enjoyed this video and the whole of Pettober, and I will see you in the next video.